Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. Let's talk about big decisions. So sometimes you have a big decision to make, and it can seem really overwhelming. It can seem paralyzing. I know some people really don't like making those big decisions, but you're a listener of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. So I don't know if you just tolerate it or like making big decisions or love the challenge, but I really wanted to address this issue today because sometimes we have huge decisions to make, and even the thoughtful leader can get a bit overwhelmed with it. And I include myself in that. I aim to be a thoughtful leader at all times. And what I always challenge myself to do is to make the big decisions quickly enough, so not wasting a lot of time, but not too quickly, and really aim to get all of the facts and figures and criteria in place, but not get into paralysis by analysis. So it's enough, but not too much, and it's enough time, but not too much time. And it's a bit of agonizing and certainly a lot of thought, but not too much. You see what I'm getting at? So in The Thoughtful Leader, I ask a question: how long is a piece of thinking? And you've heard me say that before, perhaps, because it's something that you need to decide very quickly. So when you have a big decision to make, you actually have a few smaller decisions within that. And the first one is it worth taking the time to make that big decision? Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes life throws things at us, and I know that. And I've seen a lot of my friends and relatives and clients have to make big and challenging decisions, hard decisions, because you see this path in front of you and you think, well, I could go this way, I could go this way. What if I go this way and I should have gone that way? And you can get yourself into a bit of a muddle, as we say in the UK. So the first decision that you have to make is, are you going to spend the time and effort to give that decision, to give that situation enough thought? Because, that's a decision in itself. Making no decision or postponing it is also a decision. All right, I've said the word decision enough. What I'm really asking you to do is to be aware, because that's the first thing you always need to do, is to be aware of what life is asking of you, what your career is asking of you, what your industry and your clients and all your stakeholders are asking of you. And you might feel the pressure. In fact, if you want to be a thoughtful leader and a thought leader, then you're going to raise your game to the point where a lot of people are looking at you and maybe counting on you, and that's part of it. Like I have said many times, thought leadership is a choice, and so is thoughtful leadership. Let's say you have I have to say the word decision again, a big decision to make, which will impact not only your future, but the future of other people. people in your team, people in your family, your community. So you really need to think about it. Can you get yourself into another place? So either another physical space or another mental space, or both, ideally both. And can you get rid of the distractions that really cloud our vision and our thinking every day? What do I mean by this? Well, I don't know about you, but my computer and my phone could keep me busy 24/7 for about 1,000 lifetimes. In fact, every couple of seconds, something is popping up and there's something that I could look at or notice. But that is not a great way to do my best thinking. You know this, right? Do you ever have your phone and your computer off? Are you ever offline? Because I know I don't do that a lot. I have certain times. So one of the tricks that I do, and if it helps you, great, I do not take my phone upstairs when I go to bed. So at least from 10 or 11 p.m. to, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 a.m., depends when I get downstairs. During that time, there is no phone. And that really helps because we have on our phones calls, messages, we have texts, we have emails, we have groups, social media, communities, we have news feeds. I guess you could have an unlimited number of things to look at. If you need to be quiet and think about something, if you need that concentrated time, my suggestion is get into the habit of turning the phone off or leaving it in another room, or both. You can put it on airplane mode, but I like it out of the way in another room. And the computer as well. And I put I have almost everything on silent, and I turn the speakers off if I don't want to hear any pings and dings and things. Pings and dings and things. I've been able to do this. I'm lucky. I'm old school. I grew up before we had smartphones, and even before email, and even before computers. Yes, I'm that old. It is really the way to sit quietly and do your best thinking. I don't know many people who do their best thinking with pings and dings and things and lights flashing and little flags showing up and, disruptions. Right. Now, let's talk about the essence and the impact of your decision. Because if you are a thought leader, if you're somebody who is an influencer or you're influencing things, probably it has a great impact, and you don't want to be frivolous and be too hasty when you decide. What I would say is have a look at the kind of risk. So my good friend and client, Malcolm Tullett, has written a whole book about risk. We will get him onto the show at some point, because risk, it's usually seen as a bad thing, but there's risk in everything. There's risk in life. And you may feel, most of the thoughtful leaders feel this way, you may feel that taking risks is in fact what allows you to advance and raise your game and do things that other people don't get to do and achieve things that other people don't get to achieve. But the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, sometimes. The bigger the risk, the bigger the risk. That's for sure. And I'm asking you to think about the kind of risk. So what is involved? Is it a safety risk? I mean, if you were to go up to the 3rd or 4th story of a building and hang on the window ledge with no rope and no ladder and no support, that's kind of a silly risk, unless you were trying to save somebody or something from a fire. You might decide that it's worth the risk. But if you are looking at normal things, let's just say, should you leave your job and go somewhere else or start your own business? This is what happened to me in 2002. So I had been in the corporate world for about 20 years at that point. Is that right? Not quite. About 17 or 18 years. I had been working. I had been employed in different companies, first in the US and then in the UK. And it was at that point in 2002 where I had to make some huge decisions. First, I needed to dissolve a whole department that I had set up. It's a bit of a long story, but just imagine 25 people, all who had these roles in a new department. Everything had been designed and planned and created, first with me and then with my core team. And, it was about 4 or 5 years of work. And then the company changed. And without getting into too much detail, we needed to let people go, lay them off, make them redundant. There's lots of words for it. That wasn't my decision, by the way. It just sometimes there are massive things happening in a company and you're part of it and you're affected by it, but you're playing your part. I needed to do that. And then I needed to lay myself off, make myself redundant, which I'm laughing about it now because actually that wasn't even the big decision. The big decision was, shall I start my own business or shall I take another job? Because the factors impacting my decision were, I had 2 little kids and I was traveling and working whatever hours the boss needed me to. And you may relate to this, you may not. If you're self-employed, you may remember this scenario. And I was conflicted and I was always torn. And I thought I really should start my own business. And I had an idea for it. And I didn't take the risk. I took the next job because it was safer. And within a year, believe it or not, that company was rearranging things and laying people off. And I found myself in the same situation. And I really thought I was going to go and work for yet another company. And long story short, let me make a long story very short. I didn't. I finally left and I finally started my own thing in 2002. I'd never worked for myself before. So I don't know where you were in 2002. I'm sure you were alive, but perhaps you can remember the turmoil of the dot-com bust. After the dot-com boom, we had the dot-com bubble burst and all the uncertainty around that. And, 2002, it was just after 9/11. The world was in a very interesting place. There were a lot of emotions. There was a lot of fear and uncertainty. But for me personally, I'm glad I made the decisions that I did before that. But the big one was to take that leap. So I already had all the experience behind me, but I'd never run a business before. And I just grabbed the bull by the horns and started. So how long is a piece of thinking? Well, I agonized about this for quite a long time. And I asked a lot of people I knew what they thought I should do. And that's the funny thing, because, in the end, I was going to make my own decision. And what I found was the more people I asked, the more confused I got, because they were kind of breaking even, the number of people who thought I should do this, A, and the other thinking B, and then they all had their opinions. And you really can get overwhelmed by other people also. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but this was a massive decision. This was, what am I going to do with my life and career? I'm not exaggerating. I wanted to bring this up because you may know somebody who's in this situation. You may have been in this situation. As I say, if you started a business, chances are you were employed before that. And it's a huge leap into the unknown. But when we're talking about risk, is it really that risky? I had a financial cushion. I had a support network. I had a house. I had a roof above my head. I had my brain. I had my experience, and I had a lot of enthusiasm. And I was in my 30s, so I had plenty of energy. Mind you, I still have plenty of energy today. So I'm just very lucky. And the thing that went into that was, do I think that I can run a business? So that was an easy decision. That was an easy answer. Yes. And so I did it. What I'm here to tell you is I don't think I put enough thought into it. Anybody who has heard me speak about those early days will be laughing now because I thought, sure, oh, freedom. I don't have a boss anymore. I don't have to go to work anymore. And I guess a part of me saw it as a big vacation. Oops. And when you have a financial cushion, when you have some money, people say have a safety net, have some money. Yes, and it can make you a little bit lazy or complacent. And in my case, okay, I had been working for 17 or 18 years with very few breaks, just normal holidays, a week here, a week there. And I felt I needed a rest. But what I did was I rested and I saw friends and I had a coffee with somebody and a lunch with someone else. And I just really, really enjoyed the freedom and didn't spend time making my business plan or really aggressively building my business. Why am I telling you this? Because I didn't stop and think about all the mini decisions within the big decision. I didn't really do a plan. I just jumped. And I was lucky, as I said, I had all these things going for me. And for the next 3 years, I tried different things. I dabbled. I did work. I started building my business, my coaching business, my marketing business, but I wouldn't say I took it very seriously. And that cushion ended up lasting nearly 3 years. It was when the money ran out that I got serious. And maybe you can relate to this as well. It really sharpens your focus and sharpens the mind when you don't have any money. I've had that a few times in my life. Hopefully you're used to me now. I'm laughing, not because it's funny. I'm laughing at myself. Anytime you do something more than once, you have to think to yourself, wait, didn't I learn last time? No, I didn't. And in my case, what happened was I had to get serious. I really had to. I had commitments, I had bills, and I had no more money. So what risk is there? Is it a financial risk, which is what I was talking about? We already talked about a safety. It's very unlikely that you'll be in that decision, on a daily basis in that situation. Financial risk, emotional risk. Emotional, if you have broken off a relationship, separated, been divorced, or even got together with a partner or spouse, that's a big risk. It's emotional. Your life is going to change. Life as you know it will not be as you knew it. So all of these big decisions really need to be made in a thoughtful way. The very next time you are presented with a big decision, if you don't have one now, if you're in a comfortable situation and you don't have to worry or think about anything, great. But very soon something will happen and you'll need to make some choices. I'd love for you to remember this: how long is a piece of thinking thought? How long do you need to sit and think about it? And not just how long, but where? Do you have to go somewhere? Even with restrictions on us, you can still go somewhere. You can go to a park, sit on the grass. You can go somewhere in your house and lock a door, I hope. Can you go somewhere quiet without your phone, without email, without pings and dings and things? And then give yourself the right amount of time and maybe have some paper and a pen with you, because you do want to capture ideas and you do want to do some analysis without getting into paralysis. So another really, really important point, I touched on it, but I'm not sure if you heard me, so I'm going to repeat it. Be careful who you listen to. Actually, before that, be careful who you ask, and then be careful who you listen to. I'm not joking. People will want to give you their opinion. They'll want to help. But in the end of the day, it's your life, it's your career. And we are influenced by all kinds of people. You may have heard me speaking about this. Be careful and be aware of your influences and your influencers. You can choose them. You can choose whom to listen to, which influencers, or they're not influencers, you know what I mean, people who may influence you. So if you ask a good friend or a mentor or a parent or a sibling or, I don't know, a colleague for advice, they probably will give you their opinion. They'll give you the advice that they can from their point of view, their perspective. So watch yourself in these situations. I've had clients over the past couple of decades who have not trusted themselves, which is really sad. I think thoughtful leaders, we need to learn to trust ourselves more. You need to trust yourself because you got yourself this far. Think about it. You have made the decisions, the choices. You have put whatever thinking into it to arrive at where you are now. You definitely have the capacity to do some thoughtful introspection or reflection. You have the capacity to be a thoughtful leader and a thoughtful person in general. So trust yourself. Sit up a bit straighter right now. Take a deep breath, put a smile on your face, and remember that you already have so many resources and so much experience and insights and skills. Shall I go on? You have so many strengths. You don't need to ask everybody about everything. I always feel so sad when I see on social media somebody is doing a really, really important thing like a rebrand. So, and this is massive. And they ask everybody else, what do you think? A or B, 1, 2, or 3, the red one or the blue one? And then, as I said right up front, they can get themselves more mixed up, more confused, more conflicted because of all of the input. Think about whether you really want that input. I don't know why, as human beings in today's society, we feel so disempowered. I shouldn't say we. I always teach my clients, don't say we. You know, I don't feel disempowered, so I'm not including myself in that. And I don't know if you do. So let's just say many people feel disempowered. They don't trust themselves. They don't think that they can make a good decision. What do you need to do to re-empower yourself, to remind yourself that actually all you need is within you now? You have these resources and skills and strengths. What do you need to do to reclaim your decision-making power and your thoughtful leadership? That's what I'm wondering today. I think I'll stop there because I could go on and on and on, but I just made a decision right now that that's enough for today. And if you have even learned one thing or been inspired to do one thing, if what I've been talking about resonates and you feel that you can shift something in your life, I'm delighted. So I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. Thank you so, so much for engaging, for being part of my community, and for being part of the thoughtful leadership revolution. Go out there and make some great decisions thoughtfully. See you again soon. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.